is the Capital Farm Credit Wednesday Night Podcast, our weekly look at the area athletic scene, what happened last week and what's going on this week. I'm here via Zoom with my partner, Dan Youngblood. And tonight, Dan, we've got a guest out of Early, baseball coach Todd Hatton.
Yeah, and I think Early's been one of the really neat stories in the big country this year. That's a young baseball team. They lost 7 seniors from last year's team, which had its season cut short by COVID, and have managed with a young team. I think they only have 2 seniors this year to stay not only competitive, but really contend in their district. They're currently second in District 8-3A behind Brock, which is obviously a state power. So there's no shame in being behind them, but it's a team that's just really, I think, kind of not necessarily come out of nowhere because he's had success at Early, but it's a team that I think may be a little bit ahead of schedule. I'll be interested in maybe asking about that just to see what his thoughts are on the way this young team's competing, because I think just kind of watching them from afar, it's been a fun group to watch. They've done a lot of really nice things so far this season.
Before we jump into this week's show, we need to thank our primary sponsor, Capital Farm Credit, with offices all over Texas, including Stanford and Abilene. Buy your own slice of Texas with Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. And with that, before we bring on Coach Todd Hatton of Early, I want to bounce around the area a little bit and chat about some of the ball clubs that we have seen. And in particular, last week, I got to go to this Early Brock matchup, and it was a big win for Brock, a 12-3 win over there. Not Early's night, but this Brock ball club, everybody's talking about Jim Ned getting out of the region and winning that region and going to state. But I'll tell you what, Brock is a threat. They have a lot of pitching depth. They have a lot of speed. They field well. They're a threat. And from what I've seen, they lay down drag bunts as well as anyone. So they can negate really, if they meet up with Jim Ned, they can create a problem with Jim Ned with these drag bunts, and because they're really adept at it, and they can negate some of the power pitching that Jim Ned has.
Yeah, and Brock's one of those programs that's basically always really good. I mean, by the time the playoffs start, Brock's one of those programs that I think you have to consider a region threat, if not a state threat, just because of kind of the tradition they have and just the expectations they have. And you mentioned some of those things about the bunting and the small ball that they play. And they're a team that they put pressure on you that way. And I got to see that firsthand a couple of years ago, back when Wall made its run to the state championship game. Brock was the only team all year that beat that Wall team. I think it's important to remember that. Brock took that team to 3 games in that region final series. And that was a series that really could have gone either way. So Brock's one of those programs that always expects to be in that situation, and that you can never take wins over Brock for granted. One thing that's going to be interesting is you mentioned going out to the Early Brock game. Also last week, later in the week, Jim Ned hosted a Wall team that was also kind of on a nice little run, and Jim Ned was able to beat them pretty comfortably. I think it was an 8-1 final there. So Jim Ned is passed its challenges and passed its tests so far, but I do agree that Brock is one of those teams you don't want to sleep on that bunch. They've got a lot of talent as well.
They have the pitching depth to go 3 games, which makes them a threat to anybody. And the speed is all over the field. And when you have speed and you're getting people on base, you're going to be a problem. And Brock is a problem. They will
definitely. And you mentioned the pitching depth, and we've talked a lot about that over the past few weeks. The pitching depth is always so important, and like you said, Brock's got it. They've got several pitchers, and Peyton Schaefer is also one of their better hitters. Ian Fuchs, and then you've got the Lightfoot kid as well. Anytime you've got 3 really quality pitchers, you've got a chance to win a 3-game series. So
yes,
I think that. I mean, when you look at that region, obviously, I still think Jim Ned's the favorite. I mean, until they lose, I'm going to feel that way. But you do got Shallowater there. You've got Brock there. And even though Jim Ned is now swept Wall's one of those teams that you always got to watch out for. And there are several others throughout the region that are that you're going to have to take seriously. So, but it's going to be a fun race. Region 1-3A is always such a really fun in baseball is always such a fun region to follow, and I think this year is going to be the same way.
All right. There's another ball club I want to mention. We'll jump over to softball. I got to see Colorado City last week. I drove all the way out to Forsan to watch that big ball game, and Colorado City was impressive. The Casey Rivera kid, only a sophomore, only 15 years old, and yet she is in the top 10 in every one of our offensive stat categories, with the exception of steals, with the exception of stolen bases. She's in the top 10 in batting average. She's at .578. She is in the top 10 in on-base percentage. She's at .645, number 8 She's second in the area in doubles. I'm going right down the list. She leads the league or leads the area in triples with 7, and she's in the top 10 in home runs with 4, and she's second in RBIs. We have a sophomore that's that clutch of a hitter with that much power, hitting for that high of an average. What kind of a ball player are we going to be looking at in 2 years?
That's a good question. And she's been added to a nucleus that already included a couple of really good players in Riley Johnson and Mallory Kern, who were part of kind of a really good young team 2 years ago that really put some pressure on some teams in the playoffs. So, yeah, I think this Colorado City team is interesting. And you talked about them going out to Forsan and getting a win. Forsan was a team that was playing really well going into that. They were hitting the ball really well and winning a lot of games. So that's a good win for them. And they're definitely a program to follow because in a lot of these cases, I mean, many of their best players are girls that, again, are going to be back next year. So it makes it fun to watch.
Well, Riley Johnson is a capable pitcher, and Rivera is a capable pitcher. They have 2 girls that can throw strikes that are capable of getting outs. And Mia Monroe is back coming off this knee injury at shortstop, and she's getting her mobility back. And she is a quality hitter. She's an all big country basketball player, but she's got all big country caliber talent as a softball player as well. She's not playing shortstop for no reason. She's a great athlete, and she's getting back into the lineup and getting back toward 100%. Colorado City has a shot at making a really nice run in postseason.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned Mia because that was an oversight on my part because she has been such a huge part of not just their softball program, but their entire athletic program. So it's really nice to see her get back on the softball field and kind of getting back to where she was. But staying on softball, you got to see Colorado City last week. I got to see a team that we've been talking about a lot and hadn't gotten to see quite yet, and that was the Merkle Lady Badgers. And this is a program that has had a fantastic season, already over 20 wins on the season, already clinched their district title. And the really interesting thing about this Merkle team was this was a team that was winless in district 2 years ago, to undefeated in district this year. Just a remarkable turnaround for this program. And I got to go see them play against Brady, who was a little overmatched in that one. That one wasn't going to be competitive probably anyway, but Merkle played really well, got themselves a really impressive win and clinched the share of the district title there. And I got to talk to Coach Bobby Williams for a feature I wrote on Merkle's softball resurgence. And that was a lot of fun, too, because he's a guy that has been at that program now for 3 years. So he's gotten to follow them from that really tough season a couple of years ago through last season, which got cut short, obviously, by COVID, into the success they've had this year. And it was nice kind of talking to him about some of the things they were able to do because this is still a young team. They've got 7 seniors, but a lot of the girls that play key positions are still younger. So including their pitcher, the Whitehead girl, who's just a freshman. So having seen Merkle in person now, it was nice to get to do that because I've seen the numbers, I've seen the record and those sorts of things and what they've been able to do, some of these teams, but seeing them in person, you see kind of why they're able to do that. And part of it is they've got a really good young pitcher in the circle and they're just very sound. They hit the ball 1 through 9 and they field the ball well. So a good quality team this year. It's going to be fun watching how far they can get. And again, seeing how they can build on this year, because like I said, a lot of those girls are going to be back.
One other team that is really enjoying a great year and has kind of flown under the radar just a little bit. The Sweetwater Lady Mustangs are looking good. And we got to see them last night out at Snyder. Yeah,
I mean, that's a program, like you said, they went into that game having already clinched a district title. So a great season for what they've been able to do this year. And there was a team that really turned it on into district. As a team that really got hot and is playing very well going into the playoffs. So they're going to be one that's fun to follow as well. Both them and Snyder. I think both those teams have a chance to really to put pressure on teams once they get to the playoffs.
And with that, it's just about time to bring on early baseball coach Todd Hatton. But before we do that, we need to thank our sponsors, beginning with Capital Farm Credit, who brings you these Wednesday night podcasts free of charge throughout the school year. Also, for the love of the game broadcasting, and our old friend Terry Slavens, owner of K-Lakes 93.5 FM out of Breckenridge, KATX 97.7 FM out of Eastland, Classic Country 1330 AM out of Graham, KWKQ 94.7 FM out of Graham, KROO 1430 AM out of Breckenridge, and KWBY 98.5 FM out of Ranger. That is for the love of the game broadcasting. Also, Phil Hill of the Abilene Realtors Group, big supporter of local athletics. If you're in the market, give Phil a shout at 325-669-5153 or visit his website at philhillproperties.com. Com. And finally, Jack's Road Boring in Snyder, dirt sales and services. With service and experience you can count on. Larry Green is the man to call out there. Give him a shout at 325-575-8004. That's Jack's Road Boring in Snyder. And with that, Dan, it is just about time to bring on Coach Todd Hatton, who is, despite having a young ball club, really, I mean, the early Longhorns are no pushover. They beat the dog out of Peaster 14-1 on Friday night, which, man, that was a stunner. Like, that's a good Peaster ball club. And really the better years of this early ball club are ahead of it. They still, the bulk of their talent, will not graduate this year. And I think Coach Hatton deserves a lot of credit for bringing the ball club along as far as he has. This is a surprise to a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree completely. This is a team with two really good junior pitchers and some pretty solid arms behind those two guys. And it's a team that with a lineup that's really come along as the season has progressed. So a lot of young players have shown some maturity over the course of this season, which is I think significant because that's one of the big side effects of last year's COVID shutdown is a lot of these young guys, the sophomores and juniors from that team, didn't get an opportunity to play a lot of games. So they don't have the experience they normally would in this situation. So to be where they are, maybe even a year ahead of schedule, I think is really impressive. And like you said, Coach Hatton deserves a lot of credit for that. So I'm excited to talk to him about it.
Well, let's bring him on. And joining us now via Zoom, early baseball coach Todd Hatton. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
You bet. Thank you guys for having me. It's ought to be fun.
All right, Coach. You're in the midst of a really nice season with a young ball club, and it's surprising a lot of people, especially us yo-yos in the media, who didn't pick you to do very well. Did it surprise you? Is this what you expected?
Well, coming in, we felt like we had a chance. So, we had two seniors back, Rhodey and Tyson, and had some juniors that had been a part of these teams we've had the last couple of years. But as far as the sophomore group that we've had quite a few step up, I think maybe one played full-time varsity last year, and then the others played, occasionally at some tournaments. But our JV was really pretty dominant last year. The games they got to play, the 8 or 9 games, they put it on people pretty good. So we knew that was a talented group. And it was just a question, would that transfer over to the varsity level with the guys we did have returning? We felt like they would, but you just, like we talked about, you don't ever know till it happens. The tournaments, early on, I think helped us, getting those guys some experience, we felt like it would happen, but until you see it, you just don't ever know.
And Coach, one of the things that's really impressed me about this bunch being a younger team, and we talked about this a little bit when I talked to you for the feature a couple weeks ago, was that with the COVID shutdown last year, a lot of these teams, everybody lost some really valuable experience as far as those guys who are returning. So in that regard, just how much maturation have you seen over the course of this season from those guys who did lose some time last year?
Yes, sir. And kind of like we talked about in the article, all the tournaments we went to, we played 4 games. We did that on purpose. Coaches would call we hosted the first tournament. We put us in 4, and the other coaches would call, how many games do you want? And usually it's, at our level, usually 3 is about, max, but we felt like we had the pitching depth this year, and we knew those young guys needed some games. And so we did 4 in all of our tournaments, and we played, not only that, we played quality teams, and we didn't play any weak teams, early in the year. It was good traditional teams, Clyde and Holly and Jim Ned and New Deal and, Ballinger, just a lot of good, solid clubs. And I think it really helped prepare these guys for district.
Coach, walk us through 2020 and the COVID lockdown. You had a number of seniors, a talented group expecting to make a nice run in postseason, and they pulled the plug on you. How emotional did things get for you and your players?
No, it was heartbreaking. I knew how much it meant to all the kids, and it was really especially heartbreaking for those seniors because, I guess all those guys, that was the last time they were going to play ball, and we went out to Jim Ned tournament, and we played, I think, 2 games on a Friday, and it might have been Saturday, but and that was it. We were supposed to play Cisco that Tuesday, our first district game. Everybody was excited. That's who we were the co-champs with the year before, and that was going to be a big ball game for us. And And just hearing those guys all last year, how much they were looking forward to the baseball season, and then for it to not happen, and the year that we could have had, or they were expecting, had potential to have, it was just really heartbreaking for those guys. But I think it did teach the guys returning a lesson. We always, as coaches, tell kids, this can be taken from you any minute, and now they believe us because it happened, and they knew what we lost last year, and I think now maybe kids don't take things as much for granted as maybe they might have in the past.
Coach, you had a big win Friday out at Peaster. What did that mean to your young ball club to go out there and dominate a good ball club like that on the road?
Well, that was a big one. We went 6-1 the first half, with our only loss to Brock. And we go to Millsap the first game of the second half, and those guys played outstanding. We went over to, and they didn't make one error. I mean, they beat us 5-4 on a walk-off hit, and we didn't play bad. I think we had one error. Those guys played well, and then of course we get Brock that second game, and those guys are really good. That, and then so that was this Peaster game was big because if that one doesn't go well, then I think the eyes start getting a little big maybe. But that was big to go over there and play well, and the kids. We actually ended up, because of the rain, we ended up going over to Brock. We played them at Brock on the turf, and our kids showed up, and man, they played well. We jumped on them, hit a grand slam in the first inning, got up 4-0. They come back, got one in the first, and they didn't score again. We hit the ball well. We had another 2-run shot in like the fourth or fifth, and put it away, and ended up 14-1. But Riley Hill pitched well. We played good defense, and the kids just went over there and determined to get it done. And that was exciting to see.
And you kind of touched on the next question I had for you. With a young team, when you do hit a little bit of a rough patch there, a couple of losses in a row, I mean, how impressive was it to see them be able to kind of get themselves out of it and really kind of get things back on track?
Of course, I tried to be calm, but I knew how important that Peaster game was because if you get on a little 3-game skid, then that can cause some doubt to creep in. And I was just, that winning that game, with us being tied with them for second, that puts us up 1, and we have the head-to-head now. That was huge, and I knew how big a game it was. I tried not to, we tried to let the kids know, but not too much, but they put too much pressure on themselves. And luckily, they went over there and got after it, man. And I was really proud of them. It was exciting to see. And now I'm hoping we'll just relax and play ball and just finish up the district the way we're capable of.
Coach, looking at your non-district schedule before you started a league play, I don't see too many cupcakes there in non-district. Was that by design?
Yes, sir. It was. And I tell you, like you said earlier, you said, we've had some success here lately. And when you've had success, it's hard to get some teams to play sometimes. You have to play the better teams. And it makes you better, obviously, also. But sometimes, you might call somebody and their schedule's full. No, coach, we're full up. But yeah, it's been good. We did it on purpose. We hosted that first weekend tournament, and we invited good quality teams to come over here, and because everybody knows that's how you get better. It's good to. You got to have you better get some wins because you know as well as I do. If you don't, then morale can turn on you. But you got to, we knew this district was going to be strong and be very competitive. So we knew we need to play some quality teams to get ready.
And looking at the district, obviously sharing a district with Brock, which has been one of those kind of state powers and one of the top teams perennially in Region 1. Obviously, those 2 games this year didn't go the way you wanted them to. But how much does seeing that team and having to kind of get on the field with them and play them, how much does that help you to see where you want to get?
Well, no, it didn't go the way we wanted. But I tell you what, those guys they can put so much pressure on you because they hit the ball well, and not only that, they're fast. They can lay down a bunt at any time, and when they lay down a bunt, it's not a bunt back to the pitcher. I mean, you can't go out there and roll it any better. They roll it. I mean, they can bunt it wherever they want it, whenever they want it, and so they can put a lot of pressure on you with their hitting and that. And both times we saw their number one. We saw the Lightfoot kid, who's their best pitcher. He's going to Angelo State to pitch, and he's pretty good. And so I I think that was good for us. The speed of the game, when you play a team like that, the speed of the game picks up so fast. And then when you play some other teams, you might realize, that it's not, you get the kids kind of see, maybe, that Brock team was pretty good and it made us better. So.
Coach, as young as you are, I would say you have an above average amount of pitching depth, especially for the age of your team. Can you talk about cultivating that pitching depth and how pleased you are where it's at right now?
Absolutely. Riley as a junior has done a lot of our pitching. Bradley Roman, also a junior. Kyle Ivey, junior. Tyson threw the other night against Brock. He hurt his elbow, I guess a summer or two ago. And every now and then, his arm would start hurting. So we hadn't thrown him as much this year as maybe, we would like to have. Early in the year, he said his elbow was bothering him some. And I think the other night against Brock, bringing him in, we did. He threw well. I mean, he shut him down those 3 innings he was in there. So that was good to see, give him a little confidence and get him going. And then as far as our sophomores, Caden Laird is throwing well. And we got Gavin Sanders also is a pretty good sophomore pitcher. So, yeah, the future looks bright here at Early and with those arms. And, that could be a fun in the playoffs, if we can get in there and get those guys going.
And we've seen the lineup and the offensive production improve as well. So what have you seen from those guys just in terms of kind of the growth process throughout the season?
And, kind of like we talked about in the article, I think the consistency is getting better. Early in the year, it was kind of, hit and miss. I think we're being more consistent. We've preached line drive approach. We be consistent, put the ball in play, put pressure on the defense. We don't do launch angle at Early. I tell them, that's not what we do. We're a line drive hitting team. Because if we launch angle, we're going to be hitting routine fly balls to center field, and that's not what we want. So, but we're getting into that and being able to put pressure on the defense, being able to move runners, whether it be hitting behind or get a bunt down when we need to, those type things. We're being more consistent and just a little more comfortable doing that than maybe we did look early in the year. And they're starting to figure out when or why we do things, and maybe us coaches. Coach Pettit and Coach Fisk and myself, maybe we have a little game plan here that they can trust and believe in. I think now they do. So that's helped.
Coach, as you know, Region 1 is always a minefield. And in Class 3A especially, there's always a bunch of good ball clubs. Take a look around the region. Walk us through the minefield. Who are some of the biggest threats and who worries you?
Well, there's a lot of good teams. I think if you look at the rankings, obviously you got Jim Ned. Brock's ranking isn't as high as it should be. I can tell you that right now.
I agree.
They're not. Yeah, you don't.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
Those dudes can play. When their non-district schedule, they played Abilene Cooper, Nacogdoches, Granbury. A lot of the big Metroplex schools, 5A, 6A schools. And that's the reason their overall record isn't what maybe some of the other teams are, because they're really, really good. But Jim Ned, Brock, Holiday, Shallow Water, Abernathy, those I'd say, going by your rankings. But there's always a surprise or two, and we feel like that could be us this year. If we get in, make some noise. But Region 1, the state champion could very well come from Region 1, which that's exciting to me because, back when I was a younger coach and playing, all the other regions thought they were the king of baseball, 2 and 3 and 4. And Region 1, with Wall winning it a couple of years ago, and, it's Region 1 is really, really tough. I mean, it's good quality baseball. I mean, there's good depth. It's not just 1 or 2 teams. It's a lot of good teams, and it's fun baseball. And it's competitive and a lot of good coaches. I mean, everybody's got, there's good coaches everywhere, and it's just good quality baseball, and it's fun. It makes it fun for everybody.
And we talked about this a couple weeks ago as well. And we had Coach Ryan Lewis from Jim Ned on our podcast not too long ago, and we were kind of asking him the same question to go through some of the region threats. And really, unsolicited, he mentioned your club is one that he thought was a real dark horse in the area. Y'all played them obviously early in the season and gave them a real run. Just what does it mean to kind of be on that list? A team that right now is looked at as one of the favorites in your region to kind of view your team as one to watch out for come playoff time.
Well, I really appreciate that. You told me about it, and Coach Lewis has been good to us. And after we played him at their tournament, he was very complimentary. And of course, we talked. I told him, man, they're super. They're really, really good, and they're the real deal. And it was good for our kids, like we talked about, to see that, hey, we can play with these guys, And I think, like we talked about, I think we gained some respect from them as well. And I think it helped us going into district. And like I said, I appreciated him mentioning us, and I think we can, make some noise and do well. As well as I do. When you get in the playoffs, it's all about who's hot at the right time. It's who gets a break, who makes the clutch play or the big hit or those kind of things. Because we get in those games when everybody's good, it's all about who does those things at the right time and gets a break or two.
Yeah, who gets that third pitcher to throw well too is big in postseason play.
Your depth in pitching is big. The who's behind the plate. What kind of zone does he have? Has he got a tight zone? Does he have a big zone? All that stuff factors in. There's a lot of things people don't realize, but there's a lot of things that factor in those playoff games that can really make a big difference.
And one of the things that I think is really exciting about your program is not only where you are right now with a chance, like you said, if things fall right, to make a run this year, is looking forward, looking into the future with this program, with as many guys you've got coming back next year and even some beyond that. How exciting is it to kind of look a little bit ahead and with the program you have a chance to build here in the next few years?
Oh, it's very exciting. I mean, and to see these guys step up and perform, and you can just see them gaining confidence. I noticed today in practice, I think that game Saturday really kind of put these guys a little bit at ease. That was a big win, and you could just see them just the maturity and just the okay, we can do this. And it's very exciting. And if we can hopefully get in the playoffs. And then if we can make a little run, and who knows? I mean, go like we've talked about. I've told them the sky's the limit. We can go all the way. But no matter what, just getting that experience is huge, and sets us up for a big run. For the future. So it's fun. It's exciting.
All right, Coach. We're going to make you the commissioner of Major League Baseball. King for a day. You are the commissioner of Major League Baseball, and what you say goes. All right.
Well, yeah, I won't mention Georgia. I won't mention Georgia since you said we weren't going to do politics. So.
Well, we won't mention that, but we will talk DH.
Okay.
If you're the commissioner of Major League Baseball and you have the power to make both leagues use the DH or make both leagues have the pitcher's bat, what would you do?
Boy, I hate to say this because I'm a pitcher. I pitched in college. I pitched, but yeah, I know. I am a traditionalist. I truly am.
You're my last hope.
I know.
I thought you would go for the pitcher's bat. I predicted that you would take the pitcher's bat.
It's hard to say this because, like I said, but man, I know the fans, they want to see that DH in there, and I'm a traditionalist, but they like that DH, and so you said DH in both, or no DH in both leagues. I don't think the fans would go for no DH at all. So I guess I'd have to say DH in both.
I'm a dinosaur. I'm telling a dinosaur. That's what I am. I'm like alone, man. I'm alone in this.
Well,
before we called you on, I said Hatton will go for the pitcher's bat. Hatton is my last hope. You almost did. I thought you were going to go there, and then you didn't. So.
I hate to disappoint you. I do
have one more for you along those same lines. I'm a big baseball fan. That's my sport in through high school, and that's the sport that I'm probably most passionate about at the highest levels. And you talked about being a traditionalist. I just want to kind of get your thought on the current state of the game with some of these things, analytics. You talked about launch angle, some of these wacky rule changes they've got in the minor leagues. I'm not a huge fan. I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it.
I'm not a fan at all. Here's my take on it. If people don't want to go to a major league game and spend 3 hours there, why are you going? I don't mind spending 3 hours at a Rangers game. It's fun. That's why I went. I want to go watch them play. And I don't want to, think about the situational lefties who now don't have a career because you have to face 3 batters. That's not right. And the shift, if you're a professional hitter and you can't hit the other way, you can't let the ball get deep and go the other way, then that's your fault. You're not a professional hitter if you can't go the other way.
There you go.
They don't need to get rid of the shift.
Preach.
That's
fair.
The only thing about the shift that bothers me, and I'll get your thought on this, is it disproportionately affects one type of hitter, and that's the left-handed pull power hitter. Because there are right-handed hitters who are every bit as undisciplined as far as going the opposite way, but you have to cover first, so you can't shift in there. That's the one thing that bothers me, is it takes a guy like Joey Gallo out of the game, and that bothers me a little bit.
Well, I get it. But what if he starts driving that ball to left field? The third base they're giving him, they've got to get out of the shifts.
I don't think they would though. I think they'll
give him a single. I guess
I think they'll take singles.
Yeah,
it's a good discussion. I love talking baseball, so I appreciate you.
I did too.
I want Coach's take on this. I want Coach's take on this. Coach, when was the last time they ever made a rule change that benefited the pitchers? Ever? When?
Never. You know why? Because the average fan wants to see a home run.
Yes.
They want those balls tightened.
Yeah,
they want, the MLB, and I'll even go this far. MLB, they won't, did y'all know this? MLB will not let them blood test. So HGH, the only way you can detect it is through blood testing. The minor leagues will blood test. The MLB Players Union will not allow them to. Yeah. So they know those guys are doing it. They lowered the mound. They shrunk the ballpark. They shrunk the strike zone. Not that they
baseball.
Not on it too. That's why everybody's throwing 100 miles an hour now. But it's There's a lot of the pitcher's always at a disadvantage because they think that's what sells tickets.
And now to the people who don't want to watch good pitching, to the people who want to see the home runs, to the people who want to sit through a 12-10 ball game and they think that's fun. Here's my advice: go watch a slow pitch softball game.
That's what I said.
That all night long. If that's what your thing is, go watch slow pitch softball.
When that happened the other day, when Manfred pulled his deal, I said I'd rather watch college baseball anyway because MLB somewhat has turned into slow pitch softball because they don't hit and run, they don't bunt. They'll get the tie and run on or the go ahead run late in the game that they won't bunt him over. Then they'll hit the double play. It drives me crazy. Bunt him over and drive him in.
Yeah, and I still love Major League Baseball, but I will say the three true outcome stuff has gotten pretty tedious. And now you talk about the rule changes, talking about moving the mound back a foot, and it's just all these wacky rules they put in the minors that just they're trying to attract an audience they're never gonna be able to keep. You casual baseball fans aren't going to stay with your sport anyway, so don't alienate those who actually do love the sport you have. That's my thought on it.
I'm 100% with you. If what they're going to end up doing is taking away their true fans because if they start changing too many rules. I'm with you 100%. I love MLB. I do, but I don't like the rule changes. I don't like the 3 batter minimum. I don't like those things at all.
I'm with you. Takes Ricardo Rincon out of the game.
Yes.
Yeah. The old lefty, the 1-out lefty.
Exactly. What was the guy? Gosh, pitched forever he was with Stanton, Mike Stanton. Those guys. Those guys made a career out of it. Made a lot of money.
Sure.
Did a great thing. Yankees win several World Series, even though it was the Yankees, right?
Yeah.
Lefty specialists go way back. Candelaria became one. Jim Cotton became one. These go way back. But Coach, we're just about out of time, and we want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. We appreciate it, and we will be keeping a close eye on the early Longhorns as usual. And good luck in the postseason.
Well, thank you very much. I enjoyed it. It's a blast. It was fun, and I appreciate you inviting me to be on. Thank you.
And that was early head baseball coach Todd Hatton. He might be one of the more underrated baseball coaches in the area. He's doing an outstanding job there.
Yeah, he is, and he's one of several coaches in this area that has not only a good competitive team now, but one that has a lot of kids that are going to be returning next year and even the following year after that. So he's one that I think his program is definitely one to watch. This early team is very good, very competitive now, and I think there's a good case to be made that it's going to be even better next year, and maybe the year after that. So it's fun to watch when a program gets that type of class and is able to get some of those freshmen, sophomores, juniors through their program that are kind of able to get things going and rolling. And you look at what they've done this year; they're closing on 20 wins, which obviously is a successful season anytime, and they've got a lot to look forward to in the future. So it was nice talking to Coach Hatton. I got to talk to him for that feature I wrote early in the season and enjoyed that, and obviously enjoyed this as well. He's not only one of the underrated coaches of the year, I think he's one of the really good guys too. So it's nice to have him on.
Yeah, and well, one of the nice things about early, I've covered a number of games down there over the years, and they get great fan support. They fell big to Brock last week, but even down 8-9 runs, the fans stuck around and we're still making a bunch of noise right to the very end of that ball game. They've always been that way. Early gets great support. That's a baseball town. There's a lot of baseball fans there. They get a good size crowd as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. I got to see them in the playoffs. I guess it was a couple years ago now against Anson back when both were in 3A. And that was something that I remembered as well. Those were two really good baseball towns, really going at it deep into the late hours of the night. And it was a lot of fun to watch. But that's a program that, like you mentioned, has had success and right now is on a pretty good roll. I'm excited to see what they can do, not only this year, but next year as well.
And with that, it's just about time to close the books on the Capital Farm Credit Wednesday night podcast. But before we do that, we want to remind you that we have 3 separate subscription packages here at BigCountryPreps.com. We've got a monthly for $5 a month. We've got a semi-annual 6-month subscription where we knock that price down to $4 a month. And then we've got our annual where we knock that price down to $3 a month, 12 straight months of Big Country High School athletic coverage.
And we'd also like to remind you that if you see a photo you like in any one of our galleries, it is available for just $7. You can click that small shopping cart icon to the bottom right, follow that prompt, and purchase as many of those as you would like. But if you're scrolling around the site, you'll probably notice that we take a lot of photos from these games we're at. It's something we really enjoy doing, and it's something we're really proud of here at BigCountryPreps.com.
All Big Country, all high school, all the time. Welcome home.